Thank you, Sheena. A former state senator in federal court today on charges he defrauded 3 banks of up to $500,000.
Jamie Doyle resigned in January citing alcohol issues. Now he's agreed to plead guilty to nearly 3 dozen federal charges.
Target 12 investigator Walt Buteau has the story that's new tonight.
In his 14 years in office, Jamie Doyle was normally willing to offer an on-camera comment, but not today. Jamie Doyle had been in office since his early 30s and was on the front lines of public service his entire life, with his late father serving as Pawtucket's mayor for 13 years and on the city council since 1970. Today, after entering a temporary not guilty plea, Doyle allowed his attorney to talk for him.
Taking responsibility full and fairly for all of his actions and his mistakes, and the next court date will be a change of plea to that effect.
Court documents allege Doyle wrote tens of thousands of checks from about 20 accounts in 3 banks as part of a check kiting scheme. After using a check from one bank to allegedly inflate an account at a second bank, investigators say Doyle would withdraw money from the second account, taking advantage of the delay to collect the funds on the first check. Investigators allege the Pawtucket Democrat did that for about 3 years. 31 of the counts are connected to one day in February of 2016, when Doyle allegedly wrote 31 fraudulent checks, most for about $10,000 each. Former Rhode Island Attorney General Jeff Pine insisted even though Doyle was in office while he allegedly profited up to $500,000 from the scheme, this is not a public corruption case.
It's really not. It's not a case of public corruption. It's a personal matter involving his business, and it has nothing.
He was in office at the time.
I understand, but everybody in every walk of life makes mistakes.
Doyle was released today on $300,000 unsecured bond. A date for him to enter his agreed-upon guilty plea has not been set. With the Target 12 investigators, Walt Buteau, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Tony. Now at 6, the Target 12 investigators have the latest on the former state senator accused of running a check fraud scheme.
Today, Jamie Doyle was arraigned on nearly 3 dozen charges involving thousands of fraudulent checks. As we reported, he signed an agreement to plead guilty last month.
Back in 2016, Target 12 uncovered documents showing Doyle had tens of thousands of dollars in undisclosed personal and business debt.
Target 12 investigator Walt Buteau joins us now live in studio with the details.
Jamie Doyle straightened out potential ethics violations after an Eyewitness News report 2 years ago. In January, he resigned from the Senate citing alcoholism, and today his attorney told us he's ready to accept responsibility for check kiting. Court documents indicate Jamie Doyle wrote thousands of checks he knew he could not cover during a time he was a state senator. But his attorney, former Rhode Island Attorney General Jeffrey Pine, insisted this is not a public corruption case.
It's not a case of public corruption. It's a personal matter involving his business. Everybody in every walk of life makes mistakes.
Court documents allege Doyle wrote tens of thousands of checks from about 20 accounts in 3 banks as part of a check kiting scheme. After using a check from one bank to allegedly inflate an account at a second bank, investigators say Doyle would withdraw money from the second account, taking advantage of the delay to collect the funds on the first check. Investigators allege the Pawtucket Democrat did that for about 3 years. 31 of the counts are connected to one day in February of 2016, when Doyle allegedly wrote 31 fraudulent checks, most for about $10,000 each. About 2 months after that February date, Doyle was provoked to amend his Ethics Commission filing after an Eyewitness News report revealed tens of thousands of dollars in personal and business debt that was not disclosed. At the time of the 2016 ethics issues, Doyle told us constituents have no reason to be concerned about his private money issues.
This may sound cocky, but I'm going to quote Kid Rock right now. You can be cocky, but it's okay if you can back it up.
Doyle is expected to enter a guilty plea at a change of plea hearing, but the date for that has not been set. He was released today on a $300,000 unsecured bond. With the Target 12 investigators, Walt Buteau, Eyewitness News.